Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is LUKMAN bin ISNIN. Alright, so for today, me and my team members are going to post-mortem on the Parmalat scandal. Okay, before we go any further, let's take a look on the Parmalat company's background. Okay, Parmalat is a dairy and food corporation which is a subsidiary of French multinational company Lactalis. It was founded by Callisto Tanzi in the year of 1961. Parmalat has becoming the leading global company in the production of long-life milk using the ultra-high temperature processing technology. Still specializing in the UHT milk and milk derivatives, which is varieties of yogurt, cheese, butter, ice cream, and etc. The group also sells fruit juices distributed under the brand names Lactis, Santel, Melu, and KHAIRI. Okay, its worldwide productions or operations include almost 140 production centers and some 16,000 employees with 5,000 Italian dairy farms supplying their product. Okay, Parmalat's operations are also worldwide in Europe, North and South America, Australia, and even South Africa. Plus, its shares are listed on the Bursa Italiana.
Thank you, Lukman. Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad AMIRUL AFIQ. I will continue to explain the issues related to the Parmalat company. According to the article that we choose, our group had identified 3 issues related to the company, basically on the financial fraud and money laundering. So, let us begin with the first issue, which is falsifying credibility and obtaining loans and investment. In the case of Parmalat, Mr. Tanzi and all those illegally involved in one of the biggest scams were able to borrow money from banks and even justify this loan for Parmalat by inflating revenues and fictitious sales in records between 1990 and 2003. They would also cook its books to make debt disappear. They accomplish this by transferring debt to the offshore shell companies. Next, moving on to the second issue, which is different rules played to conceal debt. This means that Parmalat need to have people who can adequately conceal the amount of debt that was showing up on the book. This required cooperation from both inside and outside of the organization, such as external auditors, internal auditors, and top-level Parmalat employees all had to play their parts. So, on the inside, the books were kept in the hands of the trusted individuals. Meanwhile, the external auditors were instructed to keep this quiet. Finally, the third issue, which is more actions that help to conceal Parmalat debt. This means that Parmalat had to transfer debt of its financial statements. To do this, Parmalat had to make use of the shell companies in the Caribbean. These companies were required to show sales, and Parmalat will also send them fictitious invoice to validate the sales. Parmalat will then issue notes to the banks to show them how much money they owe them. Against these notes, Parmalat will be granted loans as it appeared that Parmalat was making profits. Parmalat transferred its debts to offshore subsidiaries based in tax haven to make them disappear. That's all from me regarding to the issues of the Parmalat company. Now, I will pass the presentation to Muhammad AIMAN. Thank you.
Thank you to AMIRUL for the presentation. The next presenter, me, My name is Muhammad AIMAN bin Muhammad ARIF, and I want to present the risk management of Parmalat. I will present the 3 of risk management, and the other 3 is IQBAL. Now, the first risk management is financial risk. The group financial risk management policy is coordinated through guidelines defined by the parent company Lactalis and customized by each company into local policies adopted to address specific issues that exist in different markets. The guidelines establish benchmarks within which each company is required to operate and require of compliance with some parameters. Specifically, the use of derivatives is allowed only to manage the exposure of cash flows, statement of financial position items, and income statement components to fluctuations in interest rates and foreign exchange rates. Speculative transactions are not allowed. Second risk management of Parmalat is foreign exchange risk and country risk. The group has a limited exposure to foreign exchange risk due to the nature of the business activities normally pursued by its member companies. However, while purchases and sales are still denominated primarily in the local currency, the business inevitably entails a steadily growing use of cross-border transactions. Even though the transactional foreign exchange risk is limited, it is hedged with simple hedging instruments such as forward contracts. Intercompany financing facilities are the subject of appropriate foreign exchange hedging. More specifically, the foreign exchange risk to which Parmalat Belgium SA is exposed in connection with an intercompany loan provided to LAG Holding Incorporated. Notional amount of USD 400 million is fully hedged with cross-currency swaps executed in July 2012 concurrently with the disbursement of the loan. Based on the annual report 2017, at December 31st, 2017, the group exposure to the foreign exchange risk on intercompany financing position distributed over several group companies was limited to a total value of about 11 million euros. Lastly, group companies that operate in countries with an economy that is highly regulated are exposed to an economic risk. In these countries, higher internal costs may not be fully transferable to sales price. Information about Venezuela is provided in a separate section of the notes to the consolidated financial statements. The third risk management is interest rate risk. The exposure to the interest risk in connection with financial liabilities is limited at the group level because the most significant exposures concern the parent company in a context of interest rates that are expected to remain low over the near term. Financial assets were invested in short-term securities, and consequently there was no significant exposure to the risk of changes in their market value caused by fluctuations in interest rates. That's all from me. Now I want to pass the presentation to IQBAL to continue the risk management of Parmalat.
Thank you, Muhammad AIMAN. And now, my name is IQBAL bin ANWAR, and I will continue the next risk management of Parmalat. So, the risk management of Parmalat is price risk. So, Parmalat is not exposed to the risk related to changes in stock market prices because its investment policy forbids investment in such instrument. So, next is credit risk. So, the liquid assets of Parmalat are held in Italy and invested in sight and short-term bank deposit with counterparties belonging to top financial groups. Consistent with past practices, the company pursued greater counterparty diversification for the investment of its liquid asset, on occasion passing up opportunities for higher return and constantly monitor the main financial indicator of the institution where it invests significant position.
The remaining liquidity held by other group companies is deposit with bank with an investment grade credit rating in the countries where this is possible. Commercial credit risk is monitored at the country level with the goal of achieving an acceptable quality level for the customer portfolio. Given the limited availability of independent rating for the customer bases, each company implements internal procedure to minimize the risk related to trade receivable exposure. The group exposure to the commercial credit risk is limited because in each country, receivables are owed by a small number of large supermarket chains, which traditionally have been reliable and liquid, and a highly diversified portfolio of smaller customers. Lastly is liquidity risk. Parmalat liquidity risk is managed mainly at the individual company level, with each company operating in accordance with guidelines defined by the parent company, which the main operating company incorporate in special cash management policies that take into account the specificities of individual market. The group's parent company is kept constantly informed about changes in outlook concerning the financial and economic position of its subsidiaries, so that it may help them identify timely solutions to prevent the occurrence of financing problems. Based on Parmalat Annual Report of 2017, on 1st March, Parmalat acting through its La Vagita Holdings subsidiary, an entity established specifically for this transaction, acquired some companies that operate in child, specializing in the cheese sector. The acquired company operates 4 production facilities with about 600 employees. The brand portfolio includes, among the most important, the La Vagita and Kume brand. The level of net financial asset available at the end of the year and the cash flow from operations that is being generated at the group level are factors that guarantee coverage of the liquidity risk. The restructuring of intercompany financing facility will also produce a flow back of liquidity from some foreign subsidiary towards the parent company. The amortization of the pool financing facility of 500 million euros of 28 April 2015 will continue in 2018, with outlay totaling 143 million euros, covered with liquid assets that at the beginning of the year were held by the parent company, in anticipation of possible new financial commitment deriving from the strategy of growth through acquisitions. On 9 February 2018, Parmalat executed an agreement for a revolving credit line of 100 million euro with a top Italian banking group, and additional credit lines are also being considered. So that's all about risk management. So we move on to roles and responsibility of board of director on Parmalat. So the first is the chairman and the CEO, which is Kalisto Tanzi, who is the founder, chairman and CEO of Parmalat. The problem is there are no role distinction between CEO and chairman, and without the understanding of the company's financial position, he acquired many companies in the food industry, which resulting to financial losses. So, to hide the losses, he manipulated financial report. He also diverted 500 million euro from company to Parmalat, which belonged to his daughter, without taking approval from shareholder and stakeholders. So, the second person is the CFO, Fausto Tona. So, he completely depended on the company internal auditor, not even access to company book, which was handed by them. He also announced a bond issue of 500 million euro without communicating to shareholder, stakeholder and other personnel. So, that's all from me. Now, I will pass the presentation to the next person, KHAIRI AZIM. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Hari Azim and I will continue the next presentation, which is moving forward after Parmalat scandal. In December 2003, Parmalat shares delisted from stock exchange in Milan after they make false accounting. The Italian government pushes for quick bankruptcy settlement to protect industrial operations. Parmalat is officially insolvent and former CEO Kalisto Tanzi is arrested for fraudulent act. In 2004, Luca Sala, Bank of America's Chief of Corporate Finances in Italy, admits that he personally received more than $27 million from Parmalat to Swiss bank account. In 2005, Parmalat is relisted on the Milan Exchange. In 2008, former CFO Fausto Tona is sentenced to 2.5 years in prison for disguising the fraud. Next, in July 2009, Bank of America agrees to pay $100 million to settle charges that it helped Parmalat executives perpetuate the fraud. In 2010, Kalisto Tanzi is sentenced to 18 years in prison. And from July 2011 until now, Parmalat is controlled by Lactalis Group. Next is the recommendation and future steps to address governance problems in the company. Based on the article Corporate Failure and the Role of the Governance in the Parmalat Scandal from Emmanuel Obutu, we found that there are 3 recommendations that can be used for Parmalat in the future. Firstly, Parmalat should increase supervising and compliance. The function of external auditors should be expanded, enhanced and subject to regulatory oversight. The auditors for Parmalat, Grant Thornton and Deloitte, did not use necessary professional diligence, which resulted in the approval of false financial statements. Auditors should play a crucial role in improving corporate governance as watchdogs, particularly for shareholders, by verifying that a corporation's internal control and financial reporting procedures are sufficient, efficient, and devoid of substantial misstatements. Additionally, the board should hold management responsible for adhering to pertinent regulations. Furthermore, Parmalat need to improve the independence of boards. It is crucial component to make sure that there is a balance between executive and non-executive management to maintain management responsibility and prevent any one person from controlling board decisions. In order to ensure that the chair or CEO runs the board and the executive in a transparent and ethical manner, the roles of board chair and CEO should, whenever possible, be performed by different people. The control environment should be very strengthened, and the board should also establish an audit committee to assist in carrying out its duties related to financial reporting. Lastly, Parmalat should maintaining enforcement going through laws and regulations, ensuring that the law is quickly applied and that regulators take action against anyone who violates efficient governance procedures. One such rule that has assisted in making sure public firms in the United States are run successfully and morally is the Sarbanes-Oxley Statute. Parmalat was required to comply by corporate governance laws developed in Italy. However, as was noted in the article, Parmalat's management disobeyed it without providing a justification, and there was no proof that Italian government policy or regulators like Consort were enforcing it. To guarantee that management follows corporate governance laws, enforcement and compliance should be integrated throughout an organization's operations. That's all from me, and now I will pass the presentation to Lukman.
So now we have reached to the conclusion of the presentation. Basically, there are 3 things that we can conclude from this Parmalat scandal. What are the 3 things? First one is, from the Parmalat scandal, we learned that they should increasing the independence of boards. Second one is maintaining enforcement through rules and laws. And lastly, they should improve the compliance and monitoring. Let's take a look on the first one, increasing the independence of boards. The efficiency of corporate governance in the firms is enhanced by board independence, which is a crucial component. As we know, So making sure that there is a balance between executive and non-executive management is crucial in order to maintain management responsibility and prevent from any one person from controlling the board decisions. In order to ensure that the CEO runs the board and the executive is transparent in an ethical manner, the roles of board chair and CEO should, whenever possible, be performed by different people. If this is not possible, the control environment should be very strong and monitored by the regulators, auditors, and other reviewers should be strengthened. Additionally, the board should form an audit committee to help the board fulfill its financial reporting responsibilities. Okay, so the next one is maintaining enforcement through laws and rules. When there is a poor corporate governance process, there is neither way to quickly apply enforcement. Ensuring that the law is quickly applied and that regulators take action against anyone who violates efficient governance procedures. One such rule that has existed in making sure public firms in United States are run successfully and morally, and that corporate governance principles are upheld by corporations, management, as well as those responsible for governance, is the Sarbanes-Oxley Statute. Parmalat was compelled to abide by corporate governance laws developed in Italy. However, as was noted elsewhere in this article, Parmalat's management disobeyed without providing any justification, and there was no proof that Italian government policies or regulators like Consult was enforcing it. So, to guarantee that management complies with corporate governance policies or procedures or standards, enforcement and compliance should be established throughout any organization's operations. Okay, so the last one is improve compliance and monitoring. The function of external auditors should be expanded, enhanced, and subject to regulatory oversight. So, following the collapse of Enron and Arthur Andersen, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002 restricted the assurance functions that might be carried out by independent auditors. The auditors for Parmalat, which is the Grant Thornton and Deloitte, did not use necessary professional diligence, which resulted in the approval of false financial statements. So this shows that actually, or as we know, auditors plays a crucial role in improving any organization's performance. I think that's all from us. Thank you for your time. Thanks for listening. I guess see you guys again.